the town from the Liskeard Food Bank giving a talk and saying how they needed volunteers, and that seemed to align with what I've been doing all my life, which is helping with affordable housing and helping try to build communities that have got a sense of place, and it seemed to be a good thing. So that's why I volunteered to join. But I'm only one of the Liskeard Loo Trussell Trust Food Bank. It covers the whole of southeast Cornwall apart from Saltash and Toll Point.
Yeah.
And but it's one of about 1,300 Trussell trusts throughout the country. It's one of the biggest organisations for food banks, and I'm one of 28,000 volunteers.
Wow. So there's obviously there's a suggestion that we need food banks, because if you're one of 28,000 volunteers, we need them. Why do we have food banks?
I think it's an outlet for people who've showing compassion. People used to say it's a Christian ethic. You're showing compassion for people who, for no fault of their own, sometimes they've fallen into crisis situation. They need help during that crisis situation, and emergency food and support can be a lifeline for them, and we can help them for a temporary period throughout their crisis, and hopefully get them back on the path again. And it's not just I mean, it gives an outlet for people who want to contribute to the supermarkets. They've seen poverty on the streets.
Okay.
It's businesses as well. The surplus food and things, and they can contribute towards helping in that way. And there's farmers in the area. We have gleanings, the leftover products from picking cabbages and things like that, and they can come to the food bank, and we can distribute that to people who are in crisis.
Because from my own experience of this is that there used to be a time when a supermarket, at the end of the day, anything that was out of date, it would have to be binned. It would have to be binned, and it couldn't go anywhere else. What's the situation now?
Well, you'll hear lots of people telling you that there's lots of non-perishable food that can last beyond their best before date, or we get products. People make their donations, and they give them into the food bank, and not just from the supermarket, but from clearing out their shelves. Somebody in the family dies, and and we can get some stuff which, 2019, 28, we can't give that out.
No.
We've got areas where we can send that to, where there are certain charities who can reprocess it and the like, or bin it. And but generally speaking, we're in the business of trying to help with nutrition, trying to help with people get on their feet, and so we're giving out the non-perishable items together with some perishable items. For example, big pasty people might have a lot of surplus material at the end of the day, or slightly damaged products, but they're frozen. We can give those out, and we can give out a lot of other products which are needed, ancillary products for people to get back on their feet.
I mean, you do see in supermarkets now the wonky vegetables, which would normally... I mean, they've decided now wonky vegetables, because let's face it, wonky vegetables are still the vegetables.
When you're hungry, mate, you appreciate wonky vegetables. And one of the things I found was that we find that people, some people didn't know how to cook the things. You've gone through a crisis and things, and the last thing you think about is cooking. But this food bank helps people learn how to cook and cook various food from various stuff that we've got. And so there are classes like that, and we're giving out food parcels where there's a menu in there as well, so that they not only get the basic food, but also non-perishable items. They can get perishable items, and they can get this food bank, this food parcel as well, with a menu in it.
Oh, great stuff. Who are having to use the food banks nowadays?
People. It's a problem across Cornwall. It has been for a number of years. Cornwall used to be regarded as a deprived area in the old European days. Cornwall Council recognises that we're still in crisis, and they've mounted a campaign campaign promoting the real living wage. So we do have people in this, particularly in this area, who are living on a very low wage earning, and they're seeing the cost of living increase.
Yes.
And so those people, you can have changing the hours of their work, unemployed following being employed for a time, suddenly find themselves unemployed. They can have a delay in of their wage coming through.
Yeah.
And they can on their benefits, they can have some can have benefits and some can have benefits deducted, and it can be a surprise for them. And then of course you get with the cost of living, you get rents increasing all of a sudden. A landlord doesn't want them in the house, or they want the house for a holiday let or something else.
Yeah.
And they find themselves in crisis, and you find the cost of dependence has increased. Your school, you can't afford the school uniform together with the school holidays that everybody else seems to be going on, because your priorities have to be elsewhere. You can have everybody can have a crisis. You can have a crisis, Mike. You know, I've seen a case of where a businessman came. He'd been in. He wasn't what I might call somebody in poverty, but he was in crisis. His business had gone ape all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He'd lost his market and everything else. The wife had left him. Had a mortgage to pay, put the house on the market.
Yeah.
He realised half the money was going have to go to the wife and everything else. He was in, and all he needed to help him out for a short period was a food. He came to the food bank and said, "I don't know whether I qualify or not," and everything, but he did, and we helped him out for a temporary period. A couple of years later, he turns up again, gives us a cheque, donation for the food bank. He says, "You helped me out in a crisis."
Oh, how wonderful! How wonderful!
There
is
you
that?
go.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
In your opinion, is the need for food banks getting better or worse across South East Cornwall?
I'd like to say it's the situation is we're in business to do away with food banks. It's one job that all the volunteers would like to do away with food banks. Yeah, not have food banks, but we're not. And unfortunately, with the cost of living increasing, we've found the amount of donations has gone down. What people put in their supermarket trolleys and everything else, it's decreasing. I've been working in the warehouse, and you can see the volume of stuff going out has been increasing. So, give you from January 23 to April 23, we had 12,000 kilograms going out. Between January 24 and April 24, it was nearly 16,000 kilograms going out. So the stuff going out is increasing, but the amount coming in has decreased from 11,600 to 10,300 during that period.
Why is that, do you think?
Cost of living, because people just can't afford to make donations. They've got to look after their own families and their own needs and everything else.
Charity begins at home, I suppose.
Charity begins at home. Although you think to yourself, when you look at people putting stuff in the supermarket trolleys, you think, there's some little old ladies putting stuff in, we do dogs and cats and things like that. We have pet food and things. They'll make a donation because that's in their heart. They've got that compassion in them.
Yeah.
But somebody who's obviously well minted walks straight past us if they say, pull up the drawbridge. I'm all right, Jack. I'm not helping those people. They ought to get a proper job.
Isn't the term there for the grace of God go I, or something like that? It can happen to anyone.
It can happen to anyone. Yeah, and we're if you get a voucher, you're eligible for.
And I'm just saying, the vouchers and referrals. Are you strictly by referral to the food bank?
Yes, the trust is that there are many types of food banks around, so we're not on our own, and we partner with many of them to help reach people who are in crisis and in need. But there are vouchers, so you can get a voucher from social housing because they realise that you're in dire need. That housing people know when it comes to rent. Ocean Housing, Live West or Live West, Cornwall Housing. Age UK, they can see old people in need. Doctors, they can, if you can manage to see a doctor, they can say that they give you a voucher, help you out for a temporary period. Social workers, your local councillors can give you if they're doing their canvassing and come across real cases, or your local MPs listening to real cases of poverty or crisis, they can give you a voucher, and the work and pensions people can give you a voucher as well.
See, pride must come into this a lot.
Yeah.
I know that if I hit that certain situation, it's there and it's great. But we have pride, don't we, about going to somebody and saying we need help. We do.
Yeah, it's recognised as well. We have somebody working particularly with the schools in the area, and she goes and talks to the teachers. The teachers know where the poverty is and everything else, but the parents are too proud or something. We can give food to those people and everything else. She can organise the school children to have special events and things, and we manage to reach. It's always a case of reaching out to people. So one school kid can have the same opportunities as the next school kid. So when he goes home, at least he's got a decent breakfast or a decent meal, one decent meal a day, like his mates.
I mean, schools have. There's been a surgence rather than a resurgence of breakfast clubs for kids.
Yes.
And would you say that these are linked? Is this the reason why?
There are lots of initiatives around. From not just schools, but also places like we did Ridge Calf, and they're helping people in a certain category. There's a lot. I tell you what, in South East Cornwall, there's lots of people who have got compassion, who are showing that ethos and are trying to help other people. And there's a whole network, and we are working with them. We're not trying to compete with them. We're not trying to. We're the more the merrier. But as soon as we get rid of this, the level of poverty and we'll still be left with people going through crisis. I appreciate that, but we need to work together and get it reduced.
I think the term crisis is a great term, because crisis is a personal thing, isn't it? Your crisis might be different to my crisis,
yes,
and to somebody else's crisis,
yes.
And I think when you have a situation, and we all have it, people will have their homes and they'll have their mortgages, and as long as they've got their job and as long as everything's happy, it ticks along and it's great.
Yeah.
And then the wheel comes off.
It does.
And as you've said before, it might be a marriage break, it might be a job loss.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I mean, I know one or two youngsters at the moment who are in a situation where both are working and they're trying to look to buy a house.
Yes.
And one of them is going. Their job's going to go by no fault of their own, but their job's going to go, and they are concerned that getting their own home, etc., starting a family is going to be put back, and that's because, and that is their own crisis. It might not be to the stage where they need to go to a food bank, but there are crises, aren't there?
Yeah, the food bank is just a temporary thing to help them out when they've got other priorities. You know, they can't pay for everything, or they can't afford to do everything. They've got to try to get their life in some sort of order now that they're facing this crisis. And to be helped for a short period with some food might just enable them to pay that rent, or just to pay off that debt, and get themselves back on the road again, and everything else. If you didn't have compassion in our area, if we didn't have people wanting to help other people, you're going to end up with people going through mental illness, suicides, more people living on the streets and everything. We do cater for people living on the streets. We have a cold box where we have a special one where if they refer to us, we can help them out. They're living in a tent or something. And we have people who've been shifted out to bed and breakfast or the travel lodges or something. We have a kettle box where all they've got in life is a kettle, but we have a special food parcel for them. We're trying to reach out to people in various ways, but without the compassion in society, without the Christian ethic, if you like, then the place would be, dog eat dog. It'd be really a bad place to be.
What is the best food to be donated?
Right.
And I think really what I'm trying to differentiate between sealed canned food versus fresh veg? Because obviously vegetables, with the best will in the world, and Mrs. A will say that sometimes some of the vegetables you got the dates, they're starting looking a little bit brown at the corners, you know, probably earlier before their dates. So we have to be a bit careful about what comes in. So ideally, donations.
Well, the main ingredients that we have in the warehouse are things which are long-term tin products and things. As I said before, we do occasionally have gleanings. That's fresh cabbages or fresh tomatoes or something like that for a short period. They can go out, and thanks to the people who are making pies and pasties, we have they can go out as well. They're perishables, but our main supplies are non-perishables. And do you want the top 10 list at the moment?
You can quickly run through them.
At number one, we have tin meat and ham. We're running out of that.
You've come prepared for this, haven't you?
Yeah. I tell you what, Mike, it changes. I go to the town forum and I let them know what the latest list is, and then I come back again and I find the list has changed again. It depends on what's going out and what we get short of. Tinned meat and ham's number one. Number two's fruit juice. Number three's tinned tuna. No, number three is coffee at the moment. It used to be tinned tuna.
You sound like you're doing the charts.
Sweet corn, instant mash, sweet and sour sauces, custard and rice puddings, nappies. By the way, yes, apart from these food things, we do send out a load of essential deodorants, washing up liquids, washing powders,
feminine care,
hygiene stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, those are always ancillary items that go with the main food parcel, and particularly when the people come in and they're asking how can we help you, and would you like the food parcel and everything else? Would you like anything else? And well, I've run out of toilet rolls.
Yeah,
it's all right. We can help you. Yeah. What else have you run out of? Well, actually, I've got a cat, and I can't afford.
Yeah,
it's all right. We've got some cat food. So we try to get a stock in the warehouse that caters for a variety of needs. And as I say, those are at the moment what we're needing. We are concentrating on a lot of food parcels at the moment.
So where are you storing it at the moment?
It's in the Trevecca. You know the Trevecca Industrial. You know Red's Tyres. Up on Trevecca Estate. That's our warehouse. So if people are wanting to make donations, they can go to the warehouse there on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings and make a donation. The other place is we have an office at Tor Point.
Yeah.
On the ferry road there, by the river. You can make your donations there. They will come to our food bank. And for collections, you come to the Dean Street. You know where the CAB building is. If you were walking into Westbourne Car Park,
yes,
in the corner, not the co-op side corner, the other corner, that's where you can go in there with your voucher. And there's a group of very helpful volunteers in there. And because we've got links with the CAB, there are pathfinders, what we call pathfinders. They're volunteers who are very clever. And
so that's the collections in Liskeard, yeah?
Yeah, so we're giving support as well. So they come in, they get the food, you listen to what they have to say, you don't bully anybody, you volunteer what they say, because as you said earlier, people are very loath to admit to being in a crisis situation or in poverty. But if they're in trouble with their benefits, in trouble with something and want some help, we have pathfinders who can give them support and help and say, Pathfinder means we'll show you which agency can help you most. And then they can save thousands of pounds. People who were totally unaware that they were eligible for these grants because of a disability or something else.
Yes. Yeah. Have you got a similar collection point in Lou?
And then in Lou, yes, we collect from Lou. We've got partnerships with the Lou Kitchen down there.
Yeah.
And we've got at Millbrook, we've got connections with Millbrook, which is a place where we can they store food down there and give it out locally. Tor Point one there, the Millbrook one serves Rame as well, the Rame Head. So yeah, we've got a few around the area. Yeah. But we don't cover. Saltash has got its own food bank. Torpoint's got its own food bank.
Yeah.
No, Torpoint hasn't. Sorry, Saltash and Callington. They've got their own food bank. Yeah.
Now, obviously, people are going to be referred. Distance to travel, but how can people? There's obviously a concern about if it's somebody locally in Liskeard.
Yeah.
You can get to Westbourne.
Yeah.
But if somebody's in Liskeard and they're on the outskirts of Liskeard, how do they?
We used to do quite a lot of deliveries, and we still do deliveries to people who can't get out.
Yeah.
And this includes Lou, Polperro, Polruan. You can go out into the sticks, into the rural areas where people are just housebound and just can't get out.
Yeah.
We can still do deliveries, but what we're trying to do is try to get people to come in.
Yeah.
And so that's why at Westbourne Car Park, they'll come in, their cousin, their dad will drive them and everything else, load up the car and off they go. And there's lots of people living in Liskeard who'll come in and walk out with their rucksack full and a bag full of food going out as well, so they can collect from there. And at Torpoint they do the same thing, and we've got links with the library at Torpoint, very good links there, so that they can do food and they can give advice and do their things there. We tried to get the links with Liskeard Library, but they're going to have a link with us, but it's not materialised just yet.
Okay, so the main thing is, you've told me all about this now. What is the first stage for somebody? Is there a contact number? Is there a contact site that they can get on to?
The website is liskeardlou.foodbank.org.uk.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you want to email, you can email liskeard.foodbank@gmail.com.
So anybody can ask for some advice on where to go, how to get referred.
You can, yes, you can do that, and you can also go and ask your local councillors, your local MP, or the social workers. They'll tell you all about referrals and how you need, and how they can give you a voucher. We never turn away. These vouchers only last for. It's got enough food for three days for emergency situation, and then after about
because you are more of an emergency thing, aren't you?
We have to start asking questions after 3 to 6 months to saying what's happening and what's going on and things. Yeah. But when it comes to people with children, we are very flexible. We don't want to see children in poverty. There's a national crisis of children in poverty. And we never turn down children if they're in need.
How long has it taken, and what has it taken you to get the supermarkets and all the other agencies to be like-minded and think that we've got to do something about this?
It's part of. It's not a lot. It's not hard work. It's people who wanting to contribute more to society, rather than just earn a fast buck and pull up the drawbridge. There are people out there who are looking for avenues where they see what's happening. They are aware of listening to the news and seeing things themselves, that there is poverty around, and that there is people going through, and they wonder how they can help. So
I mean,
they will do it. They'll do it. That's all I'm saying. Is in my experience of South East Cornwall, there's a lot of people and a lot of organisations, and they will do it from time to time. They'll run a special campaign, and all of a sudden we get a cheque coming from a local club, a local group, and everything else. Here you are. It's to help you with your good work.
Now you need to be funded. How are you funded?
I'm not funded.
The food bank needs to be, obviously you've got to have
donations,
premises, and it's just donations.
Donations.
Are you eligible for grants?
They are eligible. It depends what programs they're doing, and we have partnerships with the Salvation Army, with Cornwall Council, and with the Lighthouse, and with other bodies, and sometimes there's a special project on the go. Yeah. And cooking food like Eckerby, or Liskeard, the Cornwall Council might be running a special project and everything. So we button into that. Now they can get the grants down from that, from some
Okay.
organisation, and so we can get some money in that way. But generally speaking, it's you're relying heavily on people's donations and compassion.
Okay. And the message is that please donate as much as you can, because there is that shortfall.
The message is, let's get rid of food banks.
Okay, thank you, Alan Hartridge, for
Thank you.
coming in today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Internet radio at its best, 24 hours a day.